Hello everybody, here's coming up tonight on News Center Now. Two Maine girls were murdered and confidentiality laws are tying the hands of our lawmakers.
I don't see a law here that gives me any comfort.
Child Protective Services did not do enough to protect Kendall Chick and Marissa Kennedy, what an independent report uncovered.
Maine's beaches could be left unprotected because lifeguards say they don't get paid enough. And
they said, would you like to have host campers on your land? And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do.
Connecting campers with landowners who have space to spare. We introduce you to Hip Camp.
This is News Center Now.
Poor job performance, inadequate supervision from the Department of Health and Human Services. And now two girls are dead. Their caretakers accused of murder. Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. On the surface, that's a strong condemnation, but the highly anticipated review of DHHS and its handling of Kendall Chick and Marissa Kennedy leaves more questions than answers.
It was notable that there is not a single fact about either one of these cases in the review.
The lawmakers who demanded answers are frustrated. They expected to learn what happened to these two girls, just as many of you were asking for information. But today's report didn't have all the answers. Christina Rex reports.
This is really beyond frustrating, I think, for all of us.
Lawmakers and the public still in the dark. A report by Maine's watchdog agency was expected to answer questions about two horrific child abuse cases that ended in murder. Instead, confidentiality laws put a wall between investigators and legislators in a position to make change.
Can you tell us which case it was?
No, I can't.
But where children have actually been murdered, the confidentiality rights of the parent or the caretakers should be put aside in deference to the public's right to know.
Here's what we did learn about DHHS's handling of Marissa Kennedy and Kendall Chick's cases. First, the report says their cases were on opposite ends of the spectrum.
It's the degree of interaction that either of the children would have had with mandated reporters.
Marissa was in school, surrounded by teachers and observers who could and did report abuse. Kendall was only 4 years old, hidden from anyone with a responsibility to report child abuse. The report says child caseworkers failed to identify physical abuse and believed the girls' parents when they made excuses for marks or injuries. Two other discoveries: a lack of information sharing and poor job performance. DHHS chose Shauna Gatto to be Kendall Chick's caretaker. After Kendall was placed in her home, Gatto was charged with the 4-year-old's murder.
I think all of us are incredibly frustrated.
The 9-page report focuses mostly on current DHHS procedures and only names those two victims once.
At some point, we have to say enough is enough.
Over.
And late this afternoon, the DHHS commissioner responded to the report, saying he is eager for the criminal investigations to have concluded, meaning the murder trials of Sharon and Julio Carrillo and Shauna Gatto, when additional information will be available for the public. They do not want to do anything that would jeopardize justice for the victims.
So the investigative team isn't actually to blame for the lack of transparency here. They say it's those laws forcing the confidentiality issue. Lawmakers want to change that for future investigations, and Michael Petit joins us now. He's no stranger to DHHS investigations. When he was commissioner, you actually underwent an investigation and a major overhaul. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
So you actually read this whole report. I know you read through it this morning. Your initial reactions, is this enough information for us to make change?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, it's more descriptive of what the Department of Health and Human Services has in place than it is prescriptive. And even on the descriptive side, there's very little in the way of statistics or data that show any evaluation of this work. So, and my takeaway after reading this thing was it doesn't help me engineer any changes in the system, and much more work, much deeper dive is going to be necessary before they have the information to protect kids.
And Opega's erring on the side of caution with confidentiality in this case. The director actually told me there's some details that they could have released, but they chose not to because they worried that showing only a partial story would lead to misinterpretations. Is that the right way to go about this, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I think the public has a much keener understanding about these issues. I think they want to protect children, and they're adults. They can process the information, and it's the job of commissioners and governors and attorneys general to explain that to the public, and the public will respond.
Now, we were talking before. This seems to be sending the message that the confidentiality and the protection of these parents could be more important than saving more children's lives. Is that the impression you get? That's what some of the legislators said today.
Well, certainly, you know, this invoking the rights of the accused to a fair trial is important, but it's certainly no more important than making sure that a kid is not killed or raped in their own home. And they need to strike a balance between the two, and the department could release much more information, and they should.
We were talking, you know, earlier today about they're saying these confidentiality laws, both state laws and federal laws, make it so that they can't release anything in this report. You know, Opega said they want to, but the AG said they couldn't, DHHS said they couldn't, and the laws say they couldn't. You say that's a misinterpretation, right? Yeah,
I think first of all they should challenge the law. They've passed the law. Previous legislatures apparently have passed the laws, and now they ought to challenge those laws either with modifications or somebody suing the state on this issue. There's also a lot of federal legislation around confidentiality in healthcare and education, and it's a jumble. It's causing people to die. What there needs to be is a convening of parties, both at a federal and a state level, to discuss what's the best way to protect these children and exactly what are the rights of the parents on this thing. And there may be some modifications that are due on that.
So we had obviously been told initially that this was going to be the moment when we really understood what happened in these cases. Clearly that didn't happen. So where do you think we go next?
Well, not close in terms of understanding what happened. And you know, this is more than about accountability. It's about learning. And people can't learn if they don't have the facts surrounding a case. I'm hoping that between now and the convening of the legislature next January, that much more work will be done in prescribing a way out of the situation that we are currently in. It's also unknown exactly how many kids a year are killed. We know it's significantly underreported nationally. The federal statistics of 1,500. The federal commission that I just served on to reduce child abuse fatalities shows 5,000 to be the true number. If that's the case, what does that mean for Maine?
Right, we'll definitely have to look into that. Michael Petit, thank you so much for joining us as always. Guys.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Coming up on News Center at 6, we will have more on the recommended changes to DHHS, and you can read the entire Opega report at our website or mobile app.
Now we know lots of you are about to hit the road for Memorial Day weekend plans. So first, let's get a quick look at that forecast with Keith Carson. What's up, Casey?
Hey guys, nice bright day today, right? But not all that warm. Most of us only in the 50s right now. 57 in Portland, 55 in Westcasset, 64 in Sanford. Bright but nasty onshore flow, 25 miles an hour in Portland, 28 miles an hour in Bar Harbor, so you can feel that ocean influence in a big way. Satellite's pretty clean. We do have a couple of showers over northern Maine, maybe a few of them sneak into Bangor and certainly into Greenville in the next half hour or so, but most of us remain dry through tonight. And it's all about the warmth or the heat, depending on how you want to look at it, coming our way tomorrow. I've stressed this through the week that if you can make it a 4-day weekend, you'll really enjoy tomorrow. We'll see a lot of sunshine, particularly through the first half of the day, few clouds in the afternoon, but I think mid and upper 80s are likely, and relatively low humidity, which isn't something we see a lot here in Maine. Guys, we'll detail the holiday weekend for you in just a few minutes, and again, we have a much better understanding of how everything times out.
All right, so I heard Keith say that don't come to work tomorrow. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
And he's going to write us a note, so there you go.
Great.
No, I would never skip work. All right, so when you are in a life or death situation, it's his voice on the other end of the line, keeping you calm. A day in the life of an emergency dispatcher coming up later on Now. And
there might be one guard or no guards there.
A lifeguard shortage in Maine, why college students aren't signing up to save lives.
Tonight on 207, we're talking to one of America's great songwriters, Mike Stoller. He's got the story of how a song he wrote nearly 6 decades ago got played at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. And great things to do this weekend with Shannon Bryan tonight on 207.
We seems like a pretty glamorous job if you're on television, but coastal communities can't find enough people willing to put on the red suit and the sunscreen and save lives.
And run in slow motion. Some say that's because college students are opting for higher paying summer jobs. Lifeguards have to get some have to get 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet.
Boys, we need help with the dishes, so like even when we're a young age, we've always been helping out.
Alexander Luminello grew up helping the family business, a restaurant in Ogunquit. He still helps out when he's home for the summer. And when this pre-med student was old enough, he joined the other family business, lifeguarding.
Wouldn't want to work anywhere else.
All of his brothers patrolled the beaches of Ogunquit at one time or another, but with the cost of college going up, that gig isn't paying the bills anymore.
My dad is helping me, but I'm paying all my apartment rent on my own.
His boss, JP Argenti, who was out of town Thursday, says many Maine beach communities are having trouble finding lifeguards because of stagnant wages.
JP always asks us to look for new people because we usually give the best recommendations.
But this year, Luminello couldn't find anyone to nominate.
It's just hard finding the right people who are up for the job.
Not only is it a physically demanding job, but the required training costs money, about $300 through the Red Cross. And according to Argenti in 2002, the starting pay was $9 an hour. 15 years later, $13 an hour. But Luminello doesn't want to stop lifeguarding, so he's willing to take on another job to save up enough money for the school year.
Sometimes I'll go from the beach 10 to 5, and then I'll be in the restaurant 6 to midnight, and then I'll do it again the next day.
And the Ogunquit gig is pretty decent compared to other lifeguard jobs in the state. The starting pay to be a lifeguard for one of Maine's state parks, for example, is $10.77 an hour. But maybe this weekend isn't warm enough for the beach just yet. You'd rather pitch a tent in the great outdoors.
Hip Camp has just been beautiful to work with.
It's Airbnb for campers or glampers. We take a look at the Hip Camp next.
And Keith says you're going to want to make it a long weekend. We'll have that full forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, check out these views. Lifelight pilot Lori sent us some snapshots of her morning flight. Her team flew over Lewiston, Auburn, and got some pretty killer shots of the river. Remember, you can always send us your photos, and you might even see them right here on News Center Now.
With Memorial Day weekend being the unofficial start of summer, everybody looking forward to going outside. If you're looking to sleep under the stars, you don't have to pitch your tent at the same old campground.
Katie Ortiz shows us the modern way of booking unique sites in unlikely places.
Simple, inexpensive, family focused.
A getaway doesn't always mean you have to get away.
We're all trying to live in the moment.
You just have to get outside.
Hip Camp is allowing us to be able to do that.
Nature lovers are turning to Hip Camp, a website very much like Airbnb, for their next adventure. Complete with Instagram-worthy pictures, a list of amenities, and first-hand reviews, booking a slice of outdoor heaven has never been so easy.
They said, would you like to have host campers on your land? And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do.
Thanks to an unsuspecting email last fall, Janice Knights has been offering up her land in Harrison to total strangers.
You can add amenities, which is what I like about Hip Camp. If you want to offer them food or campfire wood or some type of experience.
And we generally like to meet and greet the people when they arrive, show them to the tent sites.
John Schott had more than 50 bookings last summer on this stunning plot of land in Greene. His campsites overlook the Androscoggin River with a picnic table, fire pit, even a canoe ready to rent.
Apprehensive at first because we liked the land not being developed, felt people coming in maybe a little bit of an intrusion on us, but it hasn't been. It's just been meeting some very nice people, and they've been very appreciative of the land.
Probably the most rewarding, connecting with people from all over the world and sharing a common affinity for some rural fresh air.
These girls from Israel were saying that we want somebody to come show us how to do this where we live.
3 gentlemen from Colorado.
A hip way to appreciate an old pastime.
People need to see it. They need to be able to share the beauty and the quiet.
Now, there are other sites like Hip Camp, one being Tentur.com, Tentur with 2 R's. Prices vary. Some sites are as cheap as $20 a night, but if you don't want to rough it, you can find glamping, yurts, cabins. There's something for everybody. We all know Keith will definitely not be in a tent.
You'd be surprised. You would be surprised by my. Actually, that's not true. I'll go in cabins, but I'm not a big tent person.
You won't go in an outhouse?
I like to camp if there's like a couple of outlets instead of a lot of outlets.
Yeah,
that's camping.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't need power. I just don't really like sleeping on the ground that much, which I'm sure shocks Maine to hear that from me.
I don't mind that, but I cut it off with the bugs. If they're just going to be all in my face and biting my feet.
Aren't there no mosquitoes within a mile of the coast anyways?
All you do is camp on the coast, wearing the teeth, and you'll have no mosquitoes.
That was a fake fact I gave yesterday. We got to do. Oh, by the way, Lindsay, we looked up your little mosquito thing. We can't figure out why that would work, but people say that it does. So we'll keep working on it.
Good follow-up.
All right, 59 for high officially in Portland, 68 Lewiston, 64 in Sanford. So it was a sunny day, but it wasn't that warm. A couple of showers now across northern Maine. Most of these extremely light, barely hitting the ground. But there's a chance of them here over the next few hours across the northern part of the state. Most of us, though, clear to partly cloudy through tonight. The warm front works its way through. Look at it tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. 74 in Portland, 8 a.m., 74 in Augusta. So you can see where we're going from here, which is into the mid and upper 80s pretty easily during the afternoon. Now, it is worth noting, I like the first half of the day better as far as sky cover goes, because by the afternoon there will be some cloudiness, particularly across the coastline here as temperatures drive into the mid and upper 80s. A couple of showers and thunderstorms over Aroostook County. And then here we are on the weekend. Saturday, not a bad day, mild, muggy, a few showers and thunderstorms. Notice, though, they're not overwhelming in their coverage, so you can still plan to do things outside. Just be aware of those thunderstorm possibilities. Sunday still looks like the kind of loser of the weekend, unfortunately. Here are your high temperatures tomorrow, mid and upper 80s in most spots, even along the coastline. Now, as we get into Sunday, we're cool. Temperatures in the 50s. The front now is to the south of us. So as I've been talking about for the past few days, it's my least favorite weekend day. Clouds, an isolated shower on Sunday and Sunday afternoon. The exception might be northern Maine. They might see a little sunshine driving temperatures up. And then Memorial Day itself is looking like we're just going to make it with a little bit of sunshine in there and temperatures right around 60 degrees. It's not going to be amazing, but it's going to be decent. What is amazing is next week. High pressure takes over for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's conceivable that we don't have rain through the work week, and it's not until Friday night that we see some showers move in. So it looks like a really solid week coming up. By the way, next weekend could be a disaster depending on how everything works out. There's a possibility of a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico, and if that advects itself in, it would get here next weekend as just a bunch of rain and whatnot. But something to think about. But until then, next week, if you took next week off, kind of with the holiday, it's looking good. Really
good news to so many people.
Now we're all mad at Jessica Conley.
I know, she got it right.
Right. Hands up again.
Meteorologist.
Duly noted. Thank you.
I have told these people I have the utmost respect for dispatchers because it's certainly something that I couldn't do. I don't know if it's the multitasking or so much going on all at the same time, phones ringing, noise, people talking. I just couldn't do it.
Scarborough Police Chief Robbie Moulton is well aware of the important role that dispatchers play. So what's it like to be on the front line, to answer the phone when Mainers are having the worst day of their lives? In our Day in the Life series, we hung out in the Scarborough Dispatch Center with Joe Thornton.
You know, my family lives in this community, my friends live in the community, and being able to be here in the case anything, you know, happens, people have the worst day of their lives, and we can be there for them, so it's very gratifying. That's the selfish aspect of it. You know, I never have to question if I'm doing anything that's making a difference. I didn't go to the police academy. I'm not a police officer, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm here to protect them. I think it's one of the most, if not the most important part of my job and my career, is to make them safer. I've had calls on Thanksgiving asking how long to cook a turkey so that it's safe to eat. You know, we get the calls wanting to know if school's open or closed. The industry term we talk about is it's 7.5 hours of boredom and a half an hour of sheer terror. 911, what is the address of the emergency? Okay, tell me exactly what happened. Okay, your phone's breaking up. Are you with him right now? Your cell phone's breaking up. Is he awake? Yes or no? Is there any serious bleeding? Is he completely alert? Is he responding appropriately to you? My partner has started the paramedics to help you. Just stay on the line. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do next, okay? Keep a close eye on him. I want you to watch his breathing is the most important, okay? Okay, I'm going to let you go talk to the fireman, okay? All right, thank you. Bye-bye. We deal with this every day. Luckily, the public most of the time only deals with this once or twice in their lifetime, so we have a lot more experience with directing the thoughts, and that's really probably one of the most important parts of our job, especially in the medical dispatching world, is to refocus the caller into providing help until we can get responders there.
If there's a career out there that you think would be cool to find out what it's like to see a day in the life of, just let us know. Send an email to asknow@newscentermaine.com and we'll go hang out.
All right, on the day, a government oversight team releases a report about the murder of her eldest daughter. Sharon Carrillo gave birth to a baby boy behind bars. That story is coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30. And the groundbreaking summit between North Korea and America has been canceled, or at least postponed, why President Trump says he pulled the plug on peace talks straight ahead in the next half hour.
All right, we're back after the break with Keith and Brain Drops. So Brain Drops is sponsored by Mainly Tubs. You don't want to be in water if there's lightning. It's not a great comment. I mean, I don't know a lot about science, but I do know that.
It's hard for it to happen, but if it happens, you're dead. Okay, so here's a look at, this is a cool graphic of lightning per kilometer per year, the density overlaid over the globe. Now, a couple of things here. The more yellow colors are more dense, more lightning strikes, and the blue is almost none. Now, keep in mind, over the ocean, it wasn't until late 2017 that we had lightning detection over all of the oceans, so some of that data is no good. But what you'll notice is some trends you'd expect, which is parts of Australia have a ton. Look at Tornado Alley, for example, in North America. All the lightning there. The tropics, you can see the tropical belt there where there's a lot of thunderstorms. Notice Maine is on the lower side, which is not surprising. We get a couple of good thunderstorms, maybe a year, maybe 15. Not all that many. As you get colder, it's no longer there.
Florida.
Rachel, if you could spin it to Africa, I don't know if we have time. You'd be surprised to see that parts of Africa have almost none. It's because it's so dry, they can't get the convection necessary to even produce a thunderstorm.
I feel like when they updated over the ocean is going to be way more than we see right now.
That is totally true, especially just east of a continental area.
All right, News Center 5:30 starts right now.